How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
All right, guys, welcome to another edition of the Tactical Empire. Today, I am super excited to bring you a buddy of mine and a Marine Raider, entrepreneur, father of 3 currently, and the mind, the brains, and the brawn behind the Agoge project, which we're going to dig into today. Nick Koumalatsos. I built the suspense too much and then folded under pressure. How are you, bro?
That's good, man. It's so funny, man. I love it.
Oh man, you Greeks just have big names. I love it.
You know the reason why, right? Is the letters in my name on the English language you would never put together. So even on the phone, if I call someone, I'm like, and I start spelling it, they're like, stop. Because their brain goes, those letters don't go together. I definitely didn't hear that right. So that's the reason why those letters would never go together in a normal English word. So
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I'm super excited to talk to you today because I think you and I are in alignment in a lot of our passions and kind of backgrounds coming from special operations. I mean, You did a lot more time as a Marine Raider than I did as a Ranger in the Army, but we have shared experiences, mutual friends in that community and things like that, which is originally how we hooked up years ago.
Right.
And, so I'm just excited to catch up with you and
tell people how we hooked up.
Well, originally we met in El Paso, Texas. A buddy of ours was getting married at the time. Yeah. And your wife was actually the photographer.
Right.
And we linked up that way and just out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, fast friends for sure.
And then a shitstorm hit, and this dude drive through the night to deliver supplies to us, like from Houston to North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina. Worked his way through. I don't even know how you got in because I could barely get in, and worked your way through with the trailer and delivered a ton of stuff, man, that helped out when we were supporting the hurricane relief.
Yeah. Nick and his buddies came out in force when North Carolina got hit with a hurricane.
Florence.
Yeah, Hurricane Florence. Yeah. And we loaded up. We solicited our members at our gym, packed up a U-Haul trailer and drove overnight. Yeah. And all the roads were flooded. He was texting me, go back. You're never going to make it. I was like, we'll make it.
No, I'm breaching through, man.
And man, we rolled in there and brought you guys a bunch of supplies and cleaning gear. It was so relatable at the time because I think at the time we were a year removed from Hurricane Harvey.
Was it even that long? It felt like it was close.
Yeah, it might not have even been that long, but our house got 4 feet of water during Harvey, and obviously Houston was devastated by it. So
yeah, it was nice that you showed up because, you know, we were doing the work and you were quickly, I mean, you couldn't even stay that long, but you offloaded all the supplies. And then I think you checked the house with us and you're like, hey, listen, this is what we saw. This is what we did. This is what we ended up having to do. So it actually, like, the learning curve was a lot faster. So we were able to go into houses and just start gutting things and not really worry, not because we were like trying to be, what's the word? I don't know.
Gentle.
Gentle. We didn't want to like jack up people's houses, but you started looking at like, hey, listen, you're going to have to do these things and we started checking things. You're like, no, this is all garbage. So you gave us that, like, man, it saves so much time and effort and honestly saved a lot of houses by doing that with us.
Yeah, it was amazing because we did have a little bit of experience. So when we walked in there and saw the water damage you guys were dealing with, and it was just obvious that you guys you were being too gentle because you weren't going to be able to dry the stuff out appropriately, and you were going to end up losing everything to mold anyway. Right. So that was awesome, man. That
saved us a ton of time, man. Yeah.
So tell me what I really enjoy digging into with the veterans on this show is like what you took on after the military and kind of what has led you to where you are now. Because you're like a super successful entrepreneur, running multiple businesses, running a family successfully, just had a baby. Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
And
first boy.
Yeah. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
And I'm really interested in the mindset because we always hear these bad stories about veterans, right? They're troubled. They need help doing everything. And so I really love getting on.
Dysfunctional veteran stigma or title. Yeah. I hate it, man. I hate it.
So I love just surrounding ourselves and getting on here and telling stories about winners and people that came out and used their training to benefit not only themselves, their families, those around them, the veteran community, and also like their customers and clients now, right?
Yeah. So I got out and I did what every a good special operation guy does, right? When you get out and you go contract, right?
Yep.
That's all you're good for. You're like, well, I'm going to go make this money. I can do that. But you don't really understand what you bring to the table yet when you first get out. You know, you're used to doing special operations, which is fine, but you don't really get what those skills transfer to initially, you know? So I did that. And then after about a year and a half of that, I started my own business, which I was like, well, I'll do more contracting. So I created another contracting business and teaching, tactical stuff and doing different things. And it worked for a while and it just wasn't my passion. And so that got wrapped up and, I transferred to other things. But what really started was working with veterans with Gallant Few and the Raider Project. And that's really where initially I found my passion, which is ironic because I needed help. I was going through my own transition and gaining some experience. And, when you're in the military, for those who don't know, when you're in the military, especially during the time that we were in, I was in from 2000 to 2012. It was pretty much, September 11th happened. And then that was it. That was my life for the entire time I was in the Marine Corps. So, but when you're in there, you're just going to the next thing, the next training evolution, the next deployment, to the next training evolution, to the next deployment. So you're really not processing anything that's ever happening to you. You're always focused on the next thing. So if somebody dies, it sucks, but you have to move on, right? It's your mission. You got to move on. Even if somebody dies on an op, you collect yourself and then you have to pick up and keep moving. And then when you get back, it's the next mission, right? You refit and you go off to the next mission. Yep. So you never really process those things. So when you get out, man, all that stuff just kind of smashes you right in the face and you're not really prepared for it. So I was working through some of those things. Fortunate enough for me, I had linked up with Gallant Few. We started the Raider Project. So I was working with veterans and some of the similar issues, but I also had my own mentors that were like, Nick, you need to get your shit together. You need to get your health together, get your brain right. So I really went hard on personal development, both physically and mentally. And I feel like, my transition was, 2-3 years, I felt like I was a full up round again, when some guys are taking a decade to do it, so I was very fortunate to have good people in my life, good mentors in my life that set me straight and put me on the right path. And man, after that, it was just like exponential growth.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. My story, I tried to bury myself in the corporate world right when I came out just to continue the like blinders.
The next mission, man. Yeah. Just driving forward. Yeah.
Yeah. And that turned out to be a problem for me as well. And I would say I took 5 or 6 years to dig out of it. And
what's interesting about that is, we could get guys like us, right? And initially I thought the same thing. I was like, if I get Jeff, who's a ranger, badass ranger, this guy's a badass, he can do anything, right? I can just go get him a 6-figure job. He's going to be living life. He's going to be happy. And we found that, dudes would basically self-sabotage, and they would sabotage their life, man, and ruin their life while they have everything kind of laid out in front of them. And that's when it clicked. I was like, oh shit, man, you really need to take care of the human being first.
Yep.
These guys are super capable. That 6-figure job, making the money, having a great life, that will all come if this person is whole. If he's mentally and physically stable, if we address all the physical issues and we address all the mental issues, that dude's going to go get a good job. I don't need to get him a job prior to. And when we switched from trying to get people's infrastructure fixed to making sure their human infrastructure was fixed, that's when guys started being super successful on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, we're just wired to produce, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so if you fix the internal shit, like they're going to go get that money and the success and the wins just because we know how to complete things and keep going. Right. And so,
but you have to address the human side first. If you're jacked up, you're not sleeping, you're depressed, you've got hormonal issues, maybe you're just mentally processing stuff of things that happen. You got to work all that shit out first before you can do anything else. Like you have to come first.
100%. And so that realization came to you over time, obviously working through a few things. Then you started.
Well, I started noticing it. I started noticing it with other people, because I would get a guy a 6-figure job and he would blow it.
Yeah.
He would go out and get drunk or be drinking on the job, or he'd be depressed or just like not show up for work. And the owner would call me and be like, hey, I thought you vetted this dude. And I'm like, what is happening? And I talked to the guy and he's like, oh, he's all jacked up. And I'm like, crazy, man. Why would you nuke your life? It's because he wasn't dealing with his heart and his mind.
Right. Yeah. It's a sense of emptiness. I get it. Like we used to leave work at 3:00 and there was nothing else there. And like, so yeah, that's super relatable for me and how I had to work through my shit. Because while I didn't necessarily sabotage myself, I certainly could have. And it's an all too often told story, right?
Yeah.
So tell us where things are at for you now, and so when you're talking about that stuff, and when I'm reflecting on my experiences in the corporate world, I think it was just lack of purpose and lack of mission that you're talking about, right? Like when we were in the military, we understood our mission, and at least we believed in it at that time. Like with all the shit going on right now, it's obviously a hot button issue, but I mean, we still understood the mission, which was the guys on our team. And that,
essentially, like this is what I tell people with that topic. I'm like, everybody's like, well, we shouldn't have been there. This long war, blah, blah, blah. Listen, you were lied. America was lied to. Like we all know that America was lied to about this long war. The fact is we were keeping terror at bay over there.
Yep. That's
what we were really doing. You know what I mean? Like you take all the bullshit away, you take all the politics away. At the end of the day, guys were just keeping the fight there and not here. The whole joke was like Marines were at war, America's at the mall. Yeah. America should be at the mall. They're
100%.
They're Americans. We live in a free world. Like that's what you do. You go get your mocha choke of bullshit and you go to the mall. Marines are doing the job so that you can do that. You know what I mean? So that's what it came down to. Like, don't get it twisted that we were doing something that we're not. We were keeping terror at bay, period.
100%.
And then, we moved on. We moved on from that. But now, man, I feel like now, there were bad days, but in my head, I'm like, man, there's just no bad days. Like life is just freaking awesome. And, and even if running businesses, there are problems. But across the board between, once you it goes back to being whole. Like once you get whole mentally and you change your perspectives and you remove your limiting belief factors. Like we all put these limiting beliefs on ourselves. Mm-hmm. If you can remove those, man, the sky is the limit and it's just a journey. And that's what I think that I enjoy this so like everything in my life right now so much is because the journey is just fucking fun, man.
Yes.
Like Johnny, like we've got a I met this guy through social media, and Johnny Slicks has become a 7-figure business. Like,
right.
We're going to be on, like, it's going to happen. We're going to be on the Inc. 500. Like, and we sell grooming products that are American made, right? American manufactured. Like, we are providing jobs to Americans. We're manufacturing in house. We're fulfilling our house. We're sourcing in house. And that thing went from $100,000, like 6 figures the first year, to 500, like almost 600 the second year, and then 2 million the third, and then fourth is like we're doubling that. Like, how freaking cool is that?
It's fucking awesome. It's awesome.
So that's what I get to be a part of, man. And then that with our Agogi coaching program for men, predominantly men. There's females in there as well, but it's predominantly men. And everything that we're talking about, like removing those beliefs, getting people more physically fit, making sure that their relationships with their significant other is on point. Like, that's what I do now.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly. So when we talk about alignment between you and I mean, that's identical to what I'm doing running masterminds as well. And it's the same passion and purpose that I think you and I have. And the reason that it is something that you just mentioned, which is perspective. And like you and I'll speak for you for a second, but I think the true fulfillment we have in the journey now is based on what we've gone through and the experiences that we've had, because it truly puts life into perspective.
Right.
And like a hard day at Johnny Slicks is not necessarily
hard day at Johnny Slicks is just another good day.
Exactly. Fucking exactly right. I mean, like,
that's not saying there's not problems. You know what I mean? Like, that's, any business owner knows that. They're like, you're going to have problems, especially this holy cow, this last year and a half with the vid, with dealing with manufacturers and like and different product companies shutting down, or, where do we get our bottles? Well, and then the hand sanitizer went crazy, right? So everybody was buying up our bottles and our lids to put hand sanitizer in. And we're like, what the heck? So Johnny's losing his mind trying to call. We have 400 different companies that we pull ingredients from, all American made.
Okay.
And so there are problems, but at the end of the day, it's like, look what we get to do. You know what I mean?
Yes. And it's just perspective. Like, life is still fucking great.
Yeah.
Like,
even with that,
I'll take this problem every day of the week. Right. Like,
I'm not walking down the street wondering if I'm going to step on an IED or not. Exactly. That changes your perspective a little bit.
Right. 100%. So from the Agogi project, what is your overall mission? What are you guys trying to accomplish there? Because I want to know more about this. Make
men again.
Okay.
Like this whole thing with toxic masculinity. Here's the thing. Let's look at our country. All right. Well, I'll answer your question in a very long form response. Look at our country. If you look at men in the 60s, right? I'm not saying, I know everybody's like, well, everybody was an alcoholic. Listen, every generation has their problems. I'm just talking about men specifically. Okay. If you look at men in their 60s, they wore suits. Most of them all had jobs. Even if you want to go break it down into demographics, like if everyone had a father in the household, and then all of a sudden after the 60s, really, I think like right around when Martin Luther King got killed, there was this attack on men specifically. Mm-hmm. Laws changed where they were locking up men for like really stupid petty crimes, and like, look at the drug thing, like 16 years for having like, a little bit of weed on you. Like, come on, man, that dude's worked all day. He deserves a little weed at the end of the night to take the edge off.
Yes.
It's better than alcohol, but you can't tax weed at the time. So that was a legal drug, right? So you got to always track the money. But so coming from the 70s to now, we have seen this systematic approach to attacking fathers in the household and attacking men and masculinity. Okay. Now, let me ask you a question to this current, do you think if men across this nation, if you had more fathers in the homes, you didn't have broken homes, you didn't have kids being raised by themselves. And I'm one of those kids, by the way. If men were united across the board like they were in the 60s, would the government have been able to get away with the things that they are getting away with now?
Fuck no. Like, and that is my passion as well. Like the fatherless homes are a problem, and it's obvious. If you just look at the statistics, you can see.
This is hard data, guys. This is not emotions. This is just hard facts.
It's emotional for me and probably you as well. Like but the problem itself is not an emotional problem. The problem itself is a statistic problem. Correct. Yep.
And so with that, what we're looking at is like, I have to look at that. I'm like, okay, how do we fix a society? How do we make a society better? Okay, well, if I want to get better, I'm going to go seek out knowledge. I'm going to seek out a coach. I'm going to seek out a mastermind. I'm going to seek out someone who is going to give me the information to do better for myself that I can't do myself. And this is why we go to school. This is why we get education. This is why we seek out stuff. This is why we have mentors. This is the reason why we have people, and mentors now and masterminds now is a thing. But really, back in the old times, it was like it was supposed to be your dad. Your dad was your mentor. Your dad was your professor. Your dad was the protector, the one that taught you everything. Your uncles, your grandfather. These are the lessons that you were supposed to learn. Unfortunately, now it's not like that. It is for some people, but for the majority, it's not.
Yep.
All right. So I look at that. I'm like, how do I change a society across the board? Well, then if the way I look at it, we have to make men again. Men need to learn how to treat their wives. Men need to learn how to be there for, like, not just be there for your kids, like not absentee, like go to work and then you come home and sit on Netflix for 6 hours while your kids run around. No, dude, you go walk, you go on a walk with your kids, you go talk to them, you teach them how to swim, you go teach them how to fight, you teach them how to work out. You teach these things and you pass these things on. Well, you'd be surprised how many guys I get on the phone with and we talk about their schedule. We talk about they're overweight. They don't have the energy. They don't have their testosterone's low. We have to fix all this stuff. So we put them on a routine. Start dating your wife again. Start spending time with your kids. Go to the fucking gym. Don't be a fat ass. Eat fucking healthy. Stop buying your family pizzas and McDonald's. Learn how to cook. Like take the time of sitting in your recliner and being on, watching TV. Cause like, even look at that. Look what TV has done, right? In the 60s, guys came home. Yeah. They might've like had a drink and sat in the recliner or whatever, but that was a very short amount of time. There wasn't 47,000 million television shows they could sit there and just plug into the matrix for 6 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the point I was going to bring up that I see with a lot of my clients is I think people are just despondent. They're just empty vessels of unhappiness. Like it's because they go to these jobs that are unfulfilling and then they don't have purpose and they don't really know how to like take back what you're talking about, which is their masculinity, and be leaders in their home. We don't have leaders in our community, and it starts in your home.
You just said it. So here they are. I think you didn't use the word pleasure, but you said empty vessels. These individuals, if you're out there and you're going through life and you feel miserable, it's probably because you are constantly seeking pleasure, whether it be pleasure through a television show, pleasure through porn, pleasure through, an affair, pleasure through looking at things on the internet, whatever it may be. You are seeking pleasure because, and I've done it too. When I was going through my transition, I was much more pleasure driven. I was trying to fill a void, right?
Yep.
So, but the problem with being pleasure driven is you're insatiable.
Dopamine release.
You will always be chasing that feeling. It's an empty hole that you will never fill.
Yep.
There's no amount of media. There's no amount of sex. There's no amount of anything that will fill that void. So you have to ask yourself, are you pleasure driven or are you purpose driven? Because when you switch your mindset, when you switch to being a purpose driven individual, that hole will not be there.
Right.
You will have a drive like you have never seen, and you accomplish more, and your life will be exponentially better than anyone around you.
There's no doubt about it. I've seen it. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it with everyone we help. And so like, I love that that's what you're doing, man. I love that, because that I truly believe that like that's how our impact is made. And we all have an obligation to be like I said, leaders in our own home, and to impact our family, whatever your beliefs are. I don't give a fuck. Like you can believe whatever you want, just step up and take the job.
Right. I don't care what your moral beliefs, like I don't, or religious, I don't really care. Political beliefs, religious beliefs, I don't really care. At the end of the day, you strip all that away, you still got to be a man.
Right. 100%.
So either you're a good man, a good husband, a good father, a good leader, or you're a piece of shit. There's really not one or the other. You know what I mean? There's no sitting on the fence for that.
Right. But I think a lot of that has been taken through the media, right? Like, because people are scared to speak up. People are spared, like toxic masculinity and all this bullshit. Like, I think the pendulum is about to swing, and I could be wrong. I think it already has, quite frankly.
I think it's starting to swing, and I think it's things like this. Honestly, they pushed the envelope too hard. It teetered over. It spilled over. You know, it was just enough before to let it go a little, like, okay, we'll let them be on the fringe, but now it's spilled over into, you know, our side of things. And now I think that's why you see such a hardcore push back.
And I think it's our generation, dude, like, honestly, that kept our mouths shut. Cause like, if you look at like 35 to 55 year olds,
yeah,
they've just like generally been like, go about their business. I want to make some money and I want people to leave me the fuck alone. And like, that's where it's got this moment in time is where it's gotten us to.
Bro, even though I was on media, you never heard me talk about this stuff. You never heard me talk about manhood. You never heard me talk about politics. I was part of the problem. I was living in a bubble because, I'm a vet. I was like, you know what? I want to get out. I just want to live my life, man. I just want to do my thing, make my money, take care of my family. You know what I mean? Left alone, make some funny YouTube videos every once in a while, and don't bother me. And then they raided my gym.
Yep.
I was like, y'all done fucked up. I was trying to be cool, man. I grew my hair out long. I was just trying to be a dude, you know, just living the life. But you poked the bear.
100%. And
that's when it really woke me up. I was like, holy shit, look at what's going on in the country. And look at not only that, it like opened my eyes to like, now you have this, you know, pandemic, if you want to call it that. You have this sickness that's going around. And who's it targeting? Who's actually being harmed from it?
Overweight people.
Sick people.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I look at the cost of the thing. I'm like, where are all of our men dying from? Heart disease and obesity? That's not something that is like that's not smallpox. That's something that can be fixed, man. Why are we dying from heart disease and obesity?
Yep. Personal responsibility. So that's when it comes back to the go. You're like, you will take extreme ownership of everything in your life. You will take extreme ownership of all your failures. If your kids suck, that means you suck. If your wife hates you, it's your fucking fault.
Yeah. Like, why does she hate you? Because you're probably sitting on your ass not doing enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? Be the leader of that family, man. And if your kids are not, you know, your kids are looking at you and you can't even play soccer with them because you're so overweight, lose weight, set the example. I want to be out there and be like, I want my kid, my boy to be 10 years old, me be 50 and him go, dang, I can't get an inch on my dad. He's 50 years old. When I'm 50, I want to be like him.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to be the guy in the sidelines at a soccer game or a wrestling match or a jiu-jitsu tournament, yelling at my son to do something that I physically can't do. No, man, I'm going to be in there showing him, this is how you do it. This is how it's done, son.
100%, man. 100%. I'm the same way. Like I took my foot off the gas because of an injury for a couple of years. And I was like, well, fuck, I'm not going to do this anymore because my hip's all jacked up. And then I was like, man, I'm only like 37 years old and I'm just going to fucking not do that ever again. Like that's the fucking weakest attitude ever to have about this situation. So I fixed my shit and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start running races again and shit like that. And so But that stuff is not only inspirational for your kids, it's inspirational for your clients too.
Right.
I mean, you have no idea. I'm sure you do more than most people, but like you have no idea like who's watching you and the influence that you can have on other people.
Well, and that's the thing is like you start looking at, you know, and we have the data now. We've seen the lives that we change. And, you know, if I can take, you know, you take what I've done with myself and I impart that on the client, right? I've got a guy who actually is one of our coaches now. He was like 350 pounds, worked for doing security for Microsoft, had kids, wife, the whole 9 yards, but was living that lifestyle, living like not really present, working, pleasure seeking, living out of hotel rooms, eating fast food, and just floating through life, waiting to die, essentially. The dude now is a killer, man. Never served in the military, but he is a model of what we want as men in this nation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the guy is up, he's training, he's taking his wife out, he's taking care of his kids, he's making more money now.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that you go from 350 pounds to 195 and you make more money?
It all correlates. It all correlates.
It all correlates, man. It all correlates. His whole life is that. Now he's one of our coaches. We brought him on as one of our coaches in the company. Because
my intro song talks about sedating, and that's what he was doing, right? He was filling all of those pleasure paths and just like coasting through life.
How scary is that? Because you're going to end up on death's door eventually. And you're like, what did I do?
With nothing but regrets, right?
Nothing.
Dude, I turned 42 next week. Like I'm way like, well, by most standards, I'm halfway done, right? Yeah. It feels like it's been about 5 minutes and it feels like it's been about 5 seconds that I've had anything figured out.
Right.
And I'm just scratching the surface.
That's what I tell people too. I'm like, dude, you think that I'm successful now? I'm just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like just getting warmed up. And I look at, you know, it's all in the veteran community, right? I look at Jocko, right? And I'm like, Jocko's like, he's crushed it, right? After his service. Yeah. The dude's 50.
Right.
By the time I'm just wait until I'm 50 years old. You know what I've done in the past 8 years? Imagine what I'm going to be able to do in the next decade.
For sure. And you gain momentum and speed as you go, and you get better and less stupid. And you
right.
And in my case, you remove a lot of the vices that you fucking don't need and you figure out aren't serving you. Right.
Yeah. Cause like that 8 years, like you said, that 8 years, there was a big chunk of that was pleasure driven. So I don't even know if those years count.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like now that you're purpose driven, you're focused on the 4 F's that you brought up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's an exponential return there, but it's because my priorities. So I'll talk about this. People are like, Nick, Jeff, what are you guys are talking about? That, it's easier said than done. Well, yes and no. So you have to look at what your priorities are. So people are like, well, it's about balance. I need to be able to do this. I need to do this. No, you're never going to balance anything. No. Work-life balance, relationship, work-life, work relationship. All those things are garbage. Balance is, I tried to do the whole balance thing as well. And I was like, I can't ever figure out this balance thing. What's with this balance thing? And my mentor hit me up and was like, fuck balance. Like that shit is like, there's no balance. You own your own business. That shit's 24/7. What you need to do is focus on your priorities.
100%.
So he goes, let's list out your priorities. Give me your top priorities. And then let's look at them and go, okay, are you allocating your time to these priorities? And anything that you are doing that is not revolve around those priorities is a fucking distraction, and cut it out.
Yep. And once you make priorities, so go ahead. Sorry.
If your priorities, your family, making more money, your promotion, whatever it may be, you know what I'm saying? Then, and you're not focusing on those, you're not allocating time and resources to them. Well, then are they really your priorities? It's not about balance. It's about your priorities. And if it is a priority, if it's something you want or something you need to grow, you will, once you change your perspective of looking at it from balance to priorities, now you can actually get work done.
Yep. 100%. And that's where like those 4 F's that are super simple that everyone has here. You've read them in a million books, but like fitness, finances, freedom, and family, like that's how I derive my focus. And those are my priorities. And maybe I've got a micro task every day to ensure that I'm focusing on those things. But like then you begin to subconsciously make all of those things work no matter what. Once they are the priorities, like I get up at 3:00 in the fucking morning if I'm traveling or if I don't have time to do my workouts and get my shit in, because that stuff gets done because they are priorities. If I need to see
the reason why you have to do that, and because what guys, so men that sign on with us, when they first talk to us, they're like, I don't go to the gym because I work all day and then I need to get home to the family and I need to do this. And I'm like, listen, I understand that. I understand the trap that you get into, because you get into this trap of like this routine and you're constantly, and I think that initially it comes from a good place, right? You're trying to like make sure your wife gets a break. You got to get home. You don't want to hear her complain. You don't want to work all day. She's been with the kids, or maybe she works and she gets home and you're like, all right, I'll see you in an hour. I'm heading to the gym before I get home, and she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been here with it's your turn now. So, and I get that. So guys put themselves off, and it's like, okay, you gain 10 pounds this year. The next year you gain 10 pounds, 5-10 years go around, you're 50 to 100 pounds overweight. So this whole time you're gaining weight, and getting more unhealthy because you're serving your family. But then in the decade, how are you going to serve your family when you've got diabetes? You can't really do physical things with your family anymore. You're not really, you're going to die at 55 of a heart attack. Like, are you really serving your family? Or are you just becoming a dependent?
No, you're not. And you know what I tell my clients all the time is number one thing is you are the asset. Nothing else fucking runs until you prioritize your shit first.
Yeah. How can you not take care of them if you're not the very best version of yourself? And I promise you, and I'll bet you anything that if I get you running like a freaking machine, your family life will be better. You'll make more money. You'll be happier. And you know what? You will change the lives of your children forever.
100%. Because
they'll be different human beings.
Yes. And a lot of what you were just saying about whether your wife wants you to come home or not, I think that once you set those priorities and you make it clear, your relationships improve because like there's no more animosity that you're being selfish and you're doing things for yourself. If you prove over time that those are priorities to you, then there actually becomes space and time in your schedule. You'll find where your wife can prioritize herself too.
Right.
Then you guys you're working as a team to ensure that the priorities are taken care of for each member of the team. Then everybody's thriving.
Yeah. I don't get shit for going to work out. Matter of fact, I'll be like, hey, I'm getting overwhelmed and busy. And she's like, oh, hold on. You need to take your ass to the gym. And I'm like, oh, you're right. You know what I mean? But then we do that, and I make sure that, like you said, we make sure she gets her time, I get my time, but then we come back together and it's like, okay, I'm going to be home at this time and then we're going to take a family walk. And that's what we do every day. So it's like I get back from the gym and now we're on a walk together and we're catching up and doing stuff. But because I've set those priorities, like you said, my relationship has improved. We're on the same page. We're on, we were focused. We have the same goals. We're going the same direction. We still have date nights. Our date nights are a little weird. Our date nights, we get a babysitter and we go fight other couples in jiu-jitsu. And then we go out to eat. We'll go out and get tacos afterwards. So that's our date night. Some people go get dressed up, and I don't know what normal people do, but we put on rash guards and go fight other human beings, and then high five, and then go grab some tacos afterwards. That's us.
I love it. Man. So as far as the Agoge project, where can people find you there? And then Johnny Slicks, where can people find you?
agogetraining.com, or you just DM me on Instagram and I'll send you a link. But agogetraining.com is our coaching site. I don't know when this is going to go live, but we have every quarter we run challenges.
Okay.
So for people that maybe can't afford or are not ready to commit to, like a one-on-one relationship with, changing your life, but they need that, like, let me kickstart where I'm at. Yeah, I want that. And, challenges, I have a love and hate with challenges, because challenges are a temporary thing, right? A lot of people will do a challenge, but they don't change their life, because 30 days is not a long enough time to really do some life changing, some habit changing stuff.
Right.
But what a challenge can do is be a springboard for change. It can show you where you're at and realign your discipline and focus of what you're supposed to do. So we have a 30-day challenge that's live right now. It starts October 1st.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a gogichallenge.fit. And then Johnny Slicks is the fastest growing organic grooming company in the country. All American made, giving Americans jobs, bringing back American manufacturing to the States, and honestly, just making people more healthy. Like, we're not putting toxic shit all over our body and our skin. So you get what you see and what you smell. There is one warning with Johnny Slicks: is men, if you wear it and you get around females, be very careful. We have 12 confirmed pregnancies. Women just love. There's something about it. My business mentor, Bedros Koulian, I'm sure you've come across him.
Oh yeah.
He sent me a 4-minute voice text and going off. You're like, dude, I don't know what's in this stuff, but my wife is all over me. There's people in the office. There's women in the office going, you smell different. And he didn't connect it. And he's like, oh, it's Johnny Slicks. He's like, you guys got to run with this with marketing. I said, oh, we already do. But it is, there's something about it. And Jeff, if you don't have any, I'll send you some. But you don't need any more babies, do you?
No.
But I'll send you some anyway. Just use it sparingly. But anyways, yeah, what a great company, what a great opportunity to be a part of. And so that's johnnyslicks.com.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, you can use my code Raider. Actually, Raider will save you 10% your first purchase.
There you go. Well, Nick, I'm super excited to have you on. So thank you for coming. If you have any single words of wisdom for our audience, you've just got done filming a video spot, I believe, for Netflix. So this man is famous, doing an interview.
Guys. Yeah, we're
just famous. So whatever he tells you is very important, and you should take it to heart. So if you had one thing, tell me about Netflix first.
Can't really say that much, but there's a couple of us that are looking at doing a very, very cool project with them. And I think it's going to be, it's military related.
Okay.
So we'll leave it at that. Very exciting stuff. I hope it goes through, but Netflix is very excited. And so that would be fun. Yeah.
That's badass, dude.
Yeah.
I love seeing you win, man. I love seeing and hearing all the stuff you're doing. If you had to give one piece of advice to our entire listening audience, what would you tell them?
Don't quit ever. Just keep moving forward. You might have to go around. You might have to go through a wall, around a wall. You might have to pivot. You might get a fork in the road and go one way or the other. The only difference between people that are successful and the people that are losers are the ones that did not quit. And I've lost a lot of my life. And the reason why I'm successful and talking to you guys right now is because simply just did not quit.
100%. There it is.
Just get to executing. Just execute every single day.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Tactical Empire.